or maybe you are a individual looking for clients or working with clients, and you know you need to ask for their business, but you don't want to sound like a salesperson. In this video, I'm going to share with you a couple of strategies that have helped me and have helped some of my clients that are entrepreneurs to be able to make that ask that you need as it relates to obtaining business, but in a way to where you do not sound too salesy. If this is a topic that you are interested in, I am so confident that you're going to find a lot of value here on this channel. Feel free to take a few moments to look at my playlist, because this is the place for you to learn how to communicate in those very challenging situations. If you are new to me, welcome, welcome. And if you're one of my absolutely amazing subscribers, welcome back, friend. This channel heavily focuses in on advanced communication skills and strategies to help you be able to develop a very unfair advantage as it relates to how you communicate under pressure in those very high stakes, high pressure situations. Thank you so much for, I believe I saw celebration caps that came up a moment ago. I appreciate you being here. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And if you've ever had a conversation with someone and you felt like you were talking to a salesman or a saleswoman, put it in the comments below. Let's talk about it. I'll share with you a couple things that have helped me along the way when I am having conversations with clients. Now, this topic specifically is more catered toward entrepreneurs and business owners. Now, one of the things that comes up often when we're having those conversations is that we don't recognize that they are high stakes. High stakes meaning there is a lot on the line. There's a risk. If you're not able to secure business, then you will not be able to grow your business or generate revenue. So all of this, even though it may be a bit different in terms of the topic, these are all high stakes conversations that you're probably dealing with. Now, one of the things that happened to me quite a bit is that a lot of times people, when they're trying to make the ask, thank you for the heart emojis, when they're making the ask, they are trying their best to figure out, well, how can I say it and not sound too salesy? I want to say hello to Cat 23rd. High five, Cat. How you doing, friend? Good to see you. Cat says, hey, Doc, and a smiley face and a heart. Thank you. I appreciate you, Cat. And Kat, I did a video for you yesterday evening about facial expressions. So take a look at that. And I gave you a shout out in the video as well. A lot of times what happens is that we don't recognize it's the high stakes situation. When we're trying to ask for business, this is something that you have to remember. This is high stakes because you are asking for business. I would highly encourage you to think about the whys or the W's they ask in terms of questions. If you know what I'm talking about, let me know. But when you're talking to your clients, you're trying to gain business, make it more of like a co-discovery type of conversation. This is a similar format that I use when I'm having difficult conversations with individuals. I make it more of a co-discovery in terms of these are some of the challenges that you're facing, etc. But when you're trying to obtain business from a client, you may want to think about the whys. Who, what, when, where, and why. I would say the 5 W's. Sorry about that. Thank you for the heart emojis. And Kat says, I appreciate it 100%. Absolutely. You're welcome, Kat. Think about the whys. So what is the problem? Why is it an issue? Who gave you support previously, and etc. So if you think about who, what, when, where, and why, all of those will be able to help you start to allow the person to speak more freely about whatever it is that they are dealing with. One of the challenges that a lot of people face when they're trying to ask for business is, one, they're just scared to do so. They're really scared because they don't know exactly how to ask. And then sometimes people are not comfortable hearing other people's responses. To be quite candid with you, many people really do struggle with this. They would rather hear a yes or no response than to hear what someone actually has to say. That doesn't mean that they don't care about what they have to say. There's just a certain level of uncomfortableness that sometimes can happen when someone is sharing something with you that may be a bit more personal. It may be a bit more confidential than what you're used to dealing with as a business owner. It's okay to feel that way. The more conversations you have, the more you'll start to build this skill, and you'll feel a bit more comfortable having those conversations and asking for the business when you need to. So for those of you joining, welcome, welcome. We just talked about a couple ways to help you to ask for business, but not sound too salesy. And one way I would start off is thinking about your W questions: who, what, when, where, and why. Those are more open-ended questions, and you would typically get a very candid response from the person if they feel like they want to share. Now, what do you do with that information? What I have seen as a success, I would say, for my clients that are trying to obtain business and for myself as well, is that typically once you've asked who, what, when, where, and why, and you're asking information specifically as it relates to this topic and what they're dealing with and the struggles that they're facing, it is always a fantastic way to wrap up a conversation. Once you've identified what they're struggling with, what they're having a hard time with, then you can put yourself in a situation where you can ask them, would you like help with this? I have found that my approach, and many other people, there's a lot of people out there that talk about sales, and I'm not the sales expert, by the way. High stakes communication is my expertise, but these conversations I'm mentioning to you tend to be a bit more high stakes. But when I ask someone, would you like help with this? It doesn't feel like I'm giving them a hard pitch as it relates to my product or service. They are able to say yes or no. What I typically say is, would you like help with this, or is this something that you want to work on in the future? And if they say, oh, I want to work on this in the future, then I'll bring a sense of urgency as to why they may want to work on it now. Sometimes they may realistically need to work on it in the future, but it just depends. But before I go into any further, let me say hello to everyone. Hello, and thank you for the heart emojis. Okay, we have Lighten Frimmel. I want to say, I hope I said it correctly. Say, how's your day? I'm doing great. Chaz Maniculture, high five, Chaz. Good to see you, friend. How are you doing today, Chaz? And Lighten says, hi, hello. So we just talked about a couple things. Chaz, I know you just joined. Chaz, we talked about a couple of ways for you to start having these conversations with clients, or if you're an entrepreneur or business owner, to start gaining business but not sounding too salesy. I'm going to go over it just for you, Chaz, just for you, because I know you just joined. We talked about the 4 W's. So when you're talking to clients or you're talking to prospectives in terms of your business and you're trying to gain business, ask who, what, when, where, and why. Those are more open-ended questions that will allow the person to give you more candid responses in terms of what they are specifically navigating. And my second strategy that I personally use when I'm working with my clients or I'm communicating with other businesses or corporations that I'm partnering with, I ask them, would you like help with this now? Or is this something that you are waiting to deal with in the future? And typically people, depending on their situation, what they have going on, they may have a timing issue. They may have a financial issue. They may have a mindset issue. There's all reasons why someone may want to delay, but your responsibility as a business owner is to determine, can you actually help this person? And if you can, then do what you can to support them. If you cannot help them, then refer them or give them their space. It really depends on the conversation you're having. But I have found that when you ask someone, would you like help with this? Is this something that you want to work on now? Or is this something that you need to work on later? People don't feel like they're being sold to. And a lot of times in different type of industries, we all develop a pitch. So there may be a pitch that I have with my clients. You may have pitches also as business owners. But even with your pitch, you just don't want to sound just completely salesy. And that's the whole reason why I asked the question, would you like support with this now? And if they say no, then I'll say, okay, I understand. And if I believe genuinely that they really probably do need some help immediately, then I would talk to them about what's going to happen if you wait. So think about that cost of inaction. What is it going to cost you to not do this? So for instance, in my world, and let me know in the comments below specifically what businesses you have and all of that, a couple of things that you have to consider, and these are real strategies that I'm sharing with you, not only for client acquisition, but these are things for you to think about just yourself. When it comes to making those big decisions, what is it going to cost you if you decide to wait? So for instance, in my world, if someone feels as if they want to wait in terms of enhancing how they are communicating as a leader, what is it going to cost them to wait? Sometimes it costs visibility, sometimes it'll cost their reputation, and a lot of times it costs financially because there may be a promotion they're trying to achieve, or they may be trying to acquire new business for the organization they work for, and etc. There's always a cost to inaction, and I would say a lot of times in the business world, we don't think about that as much. We think about, well, what can we do for what can I give to my clients? But sometimes it's good to think about what is the cost of you not doing this thing, whatever that is. And oftentimes the cost of inaction is simply not worth it. I've seen that time and time again. There are situations that come up, and let me know in the comments below if you've ever had a situation happen in your life where you thought about it in retrospect and said, you know what? I should have already taken care of this. And that cost of inaction costs you a lot more. So bring that sense of urgency to a conversation when you are trying to secure business so that you don't sound salesy, because it sounds more like a conversation, not like a hard pitch. All right, let me go to the chat really quickly. We have Ryan Street. Hello, Ryan. Hope you're doing well. Ryan says, okay, so Ryan, so I know you said about, are there any single ladies in the comments? Okay, I understand that. We're talking about topics that are not relationship specific. We're talking about how to help you be able to gain clients, business without sounding salesy. That's really the main focus of this channel. Our community is a group of highly accomplished leaders, educators, entrepreneurs, managers, executives, C-suites, and we really come here to support each other, ask great questions in terms of how do we navigate being in those very high stakes, high pressure situations and communicating in them. So this is probably perhaps a bit different of a live than maybe you're used to, but I just wanted to highlight that to you in case if that's what you're looking for in terms of relationships and mingling. It's probably not the best place for that. We are really highly advanced intellectuals here, and there's nothing wrong with what you were talking about, but this is just not the channel. I mean, we talk about high stakes, high pressure communication, individuals that are on news stations, people that are going to be more visible in front of camera, people that are speaking in front of a board, that are presenting in front of a group, that are perhaps political leaders, congressmen, congresswomen. That's more of what we talk about here on this channel. So I just want to let you know that I'm not saying anything necessarily about what you're trying to do. This is just not the place for it. Okay, Cat 23 says, people don't resist being helped. They resist being sold to. Cat, that's a very, very great point. And that's the reason why it's so important not to sound too salesy. People don't want to be sold to. They want to understand and uncover things on their own. So co-discovery is important. And not only when you're trying to attract business, but also when you're having difficult conversations. That's why I heavily focus on co-discovery. What is the problem? What are you struggling with? To make it feel as if we are working together to figure this out. Same thing with acquiring clients too. Okay, Kat, let me go back to Kat's question. Okay, Kat, or statement rather. Kat says, people don't resist being helped, they resist being sold to. Thank you for the heart emojis, friends. If you can articulate their problem better than they can, they naturally assume you have the solution. Kat, that's a fantastic statement. I appreciate you so much for mentioning that, and thank you for the heart emojis, friends, because what Kat mentioned is incredibly, incredibly insightful. This is how people are able to work with other people as entrepreneurs, as business owners, or working in corporations. And even if you're let's say if you're not in a business specifically, maybe you are in an organization and you're trying to partner with other organizations, and there may be some funds or monies exchanged. Being able to be that person that can have that conversation where they don't feel like they're being sold to will help you out tremendously in building those relationships. Chaz Man of Culture says, does the sales analogy also apply to pitching a project idea to a client or a board of investors? I would say yes, but there's a different way that you communicate when you are in front of a group of people. One of the ways you can incorporate some of the strategies that I mentioned, so Chad, specifically if we're talking to a group of people or a board, when you are asking questions, I would use who, what, when, where, and why somewhere in the presentation. Now, you don't have to do all of them. You don't have to do all who, what, when, where, and why. But when you are trying to engage your audience, and this is more of a advanced public speaking strategy, Chaz, when you're communicating with your audience and you're talking to them, your group of your board, and you're trying to pitch a project, the key to get some acceptance into that is to have some data. So we need some data, we need some statistics, but we need to engage them too. The mistake that a lot of people make when they are talking about pitching projects and etc. is that they go in to this conversation and just straight pitch. And if you don't know what a pitch is, there's a million videos probably on YouTube that talk about pitching. But they come in and they just talk directly about the project. Literally, let me know if you've ever had this in the comments below. But they'll talk about the project, how great it is, what impact they're going to have, what they're going to do, how much it's going to cost, how long it's going to take, and etc. But if you approach pitching in the way of an advanced public speaker, which is what we talk about here on the channel, it will help you to engage the audience. So for example, Ches, if you have a pitch that you are going to be giving to a board, I would be that person, Ches, and I already know you stand out, but I would be that person that stands out that can actually ask a question in their presentation and still not go over time. Now, there's a strategic way you do that. Of course, you always want to work with me specifically for that. But if you can ask a question to the board, what are some challenges that you see with this? Or this project is what we're planning it to happen specifically. Why do you think this is important? What impacts will this have on our future as an organization, as a company? If you ask some of those questions within your presentation, it will make you so much more engaging and it will allow the audience to be able to interact with you. Then, based on what the audience says, Ches, you can direct your message or talk about different points depending on what they say. This, friends, is how you communicate in high stakes, high pressure situations in real time. When you work with PR firms or PR companies, a lot of times they will give you a script. So for instance, like a pitch, they'll give you something to read and read it verbatim. But if you can navigate asking questions in between that time period, I'm telling you, I guarantee you'll stand out from everybody else. Because most people will just get their pitch deck. I don't have a paper with me right now, but I have my phone. But they get their pitch deck and they just sit there and just read it verbatim, and they don't ask any questions, but they wait until the end to ask questions. This is a secret, you all, and I'm here to share with you all secrets and tell you as much as I can to support you, because I want you all to be those individuals that are exceptional, that stand out from everybody else. Be the person that can ask those questions in between your pitches. It will make you stand out, Ches. So that's something I would highly recommend. Use it, but the way you do it is a little bit differently because you're in front of a group. Ask those questions in between, more open-ended questions, give people time to respond. And the fact that they were able to respond to your question, Ches, they're going to automatically feel connected to you because they have actually had a conversation with you without having a conversation with you. I know that may be a lot, okay? But I'm here to share with you as many secrets as I can that will help you stand out in those situations. So similar approach, but just a slightly different, because you're talking to a group of investors. You still have to have your data and your statistics and all the outlines you need, but you want to engage with them also. Okay, Cat 2030 says the business follows when the fit becomes obvious, not when you force the moment. Yes, exactly. That's a great point. Now, when you're in a pitch, it's a little bit different. Pitches is where you're trying to get to that moment like quickly, very fast. When you are in a business conversation, it is about building that relationship. Because I know for me, I've worked with clients, thank you for the heart emojis. I have clients that I have worked with years ago and we still work together. They contact me for different things or different situations they're navigating and we work together. But I will say there has to be a fit there. There has to be some fit. And I have individuals that's reached out to me maybe a couple years ago and they reach out to me and say, hey, I really want to work with you. It really will flow in your direction if you're at the point where you are not forcing it. And a lot of times, I'm going to be quite candid with y'all. If you're not a business owner, you're not an entrepreneur, or if you are an entrepreneur, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you have responsibilities, you have family, you have bills like all of us do, that we have to pay for. Sometimes I've seen this happen, and you let me know in the comments below if this has ever happened to you. I have seen people do pitches and they get too aggressive with it. And that's where the force that Kat is talking about comes into play. People will kind of force themselves. They think, I got to pay this bill. I got to take care of this. I need your money now. You have to do it right this second and all that. It makes you sound desperate. And if you are ever in a situation where you are having a business conversation, there's so many things that go into it because it is a high stakes conversation. But if I can give you one insight, thank you for the heart emojis, friends, to keep in mind is never, and I know this is gonna hurt, I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, but it might never be desperate for the business. Because when you are having those conversations with potential clients, they will feel it. And you will push that onto them, and it will be completely off-putting to people, and they will say, I don't want to work with him, I don't want to work with her. I feel like I was being sold to, just like we're talking about here in this live, and exactly what Kat was saying about that force aspect of it. Cat 2030 says, your job isn't to convince, it's to articulate their situation so precisely that they feel seen, and then let them conclude that you might be the one who can change it. Fantastic, Cat. I appreciate that. And that's a very, I would highly say, very accurate description. Many people in the sales world, there's different types of sales. So if you look on YouTube, there's a lot of people that sell different things, and some of them are obviously very successful. But what Kat mentioned is something I would highly recommend everybody to really think about, is that you do want to be that person that knows their situation in and out. Typically, when you're thinking about businesses and clients and where they are, a rule of thumb I was told many years ago when I started my business, and I would say it was accurate, is that you want to be in a place where you are a couple steps ahead of your client. So for instance, if you're working with someone, maybe you are in a consultant role, or maybe you are working as a 9-to-5 as a W-2 right now, and you're at the point where you want to try to do something else, but you just don't know how to do it. We could talk about this for a long time, because I've been there. I've been in that situation. But if you know you have overcome something, so for instance, I know Ches is a project manager. I know Kat is in college. If you're at a point where you are trying to overcome something, you've already overcame it. There is somebody that would have been in your situation a couple years ago that really needs some help. And you can be that person and say, oh, I understand project management. These are some things that were successful for me. I understand when you're in college, these are a couple things that help for me. They may help you on your journey to do whatever it is you want to do. Those are ways you can start building a business if that's something that you so desire to do. Now, there's a lot of talk about businesses. Should you start one? Should you not start one? If you want me to go into more detail on that, I'd be more than happy to do so. But I will tell you my very humble opinion, being a W-2 for a very long time, I personally wish that I would have started my business a lot earlier than what I did. And I'm telling you this as someone that has already been to the top of the corporate ladder. I've been a C-suite executive for many years. And that is one thing I believe would have changed the direction if I was a bit more focused on entrepreneurship while I was working a W-2. Now, when I started my journey here as a business owner, I was working a W-2 job. So therefore, I understand the struggle and sometimes what happens when we feel as if we just don't want to do it. Sometimes you feel as if I just don't have time for it. I don't feel like doing it. I'd rather just sit and watch some Netflix. That's the reason why entrepreneurship, being a business owner, can be hard, because there's a part of us that just wants to do nothing. But then if you're trying to make something happen for yourself and in your life, you do have to be willing to do what other people are not willing to do. And I talk about this a lot on the channel, and there's so many aspects that this covers, or the statement. But in terms of your time, in terms of your energy, in terms of where you want to be, having a business will help you. It will help you to start creating that freedom and that wealth that many people talk about when they own businesses. It's something that I would highly recommend to do, which is the reason why, if you're thinking about business and you're thinking about, I want to do it, but I just don't know what to do, you're always welcome to contact me at exciteexcellence.org, and we'll definitely have a strategy session to help you get some things figured out overall, not just with your business, but with other things as well. But think about where you were a couple years ago. And who is it that you could potentially help that may be in that place right now? Those are great ways to get started as it relates to your business. Now, you may be in a situation where you are miles ahead of other people in terms of where you are. Then that means there's several different people that you probably can support and help on their journeys, because you've reached different milestones in your career where you can help someone at this level, at this stage, and at this stage. Okay, let me go to the chat. Okay, let's see. Kat says, question, can pitching fall under commodity sales? Yes, I mean everything we sell is in the form of a commodity, so to speak, because we're selling, there's something that we're actually selling. So yes, pitching is just a matter of the way people define how they are promoting or advocating for their business. That's it. And the pitch can be either a hard pitch meaning kind of as what you mentioned, Kat, someone forcing you to do something or telling you have to do this right now, immediately, right this second, or you're just gonna, the whole world's gonna just implode. Or it can be a soft pitch. And you can have a mix of both, but it depends on how you do it. So as we talked about earlier, being able to be the person to help them co-discover and highlight what they are going through is incredibly important. I do more of a soft pitch, basically asking, is this something that you want support with? And if it is, then I'll talk about how I can support them. But some people are a bit more direct and more aggressive in terms of how they pitch people, and that's where you get more of a very hard pitch to someone. and sometimes it can be offsetting. But yes, to answer your question, pitching, it's still all of what we do is commerce and trade. We're trading, if it's not we're trading our time, we're trading our expertise, we're trading our money. So yes, I would definitely say yes to the question that you have, which is a very good question, by the way. But just remember, pitching it's the same. It's just someone talking about their business. It's just, we define it as a pitch. That's it. People define it as a pitch. It's just basically how are you promoting your business and what are you planning on talking about? So we talked about a couple ways. For those of you joining, welcome. We've talked about how you can sound more, I would want to say, authentic when you're having conversations, when you're trying to make a direct ask for business, but not sound too salesy. We had some great insights from Chaz and also from Kat as well, as it relates to what are some things that you can start thinking about as it relates to how you are having those conversations. Now, I do want to know from those of you in the chat, how many of you have been in a conversation where you have been sold very heavily to? I'm curious. Let's talk about some experience for a moment. Put in the comments below. I will share with you a time where I was sold very heavily to, and I had to get myself out of it. I'll share my time in just a moment. Now, we talked about the five questions: who, what, when, where, and why. Ask those questions during your conversations. Ches mentioned about board meetings. It's great to ask some of those questions there. It helps you to engage the audience. When you're pitching in front of a group or a board, remember, all of it comes down to public speaking. If you can become a better public speaker, you will engage your audience. That's it. You can have the best pitch, but if you can't engage your audience, you probably won't go too far. Asking, would you like help with this? Is this something you need support with? Do you want to wait on this, and then talk about why waiting may be an issue depending on the situation? Some people just have to wait. We all are in different situations in our lives, and as a business owner, that's why it's so important to not be desperate for the sale, because we have to be empathetic to people's situations. Some people simply can't do anything right now. They may have those issues we talked about: finances, time, energy. Could be a lot of things, and we have to be mindful of that, because I found that when you are more empathetic to what people have going on, then they will typically come back to you. Now, of course, you may say, well, I need money now. I need that money right now, right? That's important, but that's why you start to develop your business. That's why you start to develop your pipeline. That's why you have to do a lot more, so that you have more conversations. And in the event, let's say if you have 20 conversations and 2 of them turn into clients, and maybe your service is several thousands of dollars or etc., then it's okay. You still have been able to provide some support to the other people, even if they didn't sign up to work with you at this time. You still had a conversation, they could come back. But the key though is you have to follow up with those individuals to get back with them, to check on them. Most of the time, people forget this. I know Grant Cardone says this a lot. I do watch a lot of his content, by the way. And he does say the money is in the follow-up. If you're trying to grow your business, you do have to follow up with people. But having those very warm relationships makes the follow-up so much easier and not so weird. If you hard pitch someone, thank you for the heart emojis. If you do a hard pitch to someone and you try to follow up with them later, they're going to feel like, ugh, I'm just gonna like not talk to this person specifically because it just doesn't feel right. But if you talk to them and have an actual conversation and understand where they're going, what they're dealing with, where they are, then it makes follow up a lot easier. We could always talk about follow up later in another video. And let me tell you about one time that I was sold very hard to. And let me know in the comments below if someone tried to sell you very hard to. Many years ago, and this is a long time ago. I'm dating myself. Many years ago, I was in the process of officially purchasing a car that I wanted. And this was my first car. I can't remember how old I was. I want to say probably early 20s, maybe. This is a long time ago. And I was in a situation where I was with my parents at the time, and they were not paying for this vehicle. It was all me. I was buying this car myself. And we went into the room of negotiations, and I was not a high stakes communicator at that point. I've never been anything challenging in my life, like at all. Therefore, I didn't know what to expect, but I knew what I wanted, what I could afford. And at that particular time, the salesman spoke to me about the car that I was purchasing. It was, I want to make sure I got the year right. It's been so long. I want to say it was either 2002 or 2004 Mitsubishi Lancer. So that's what I had many, many years ago. Many of you know I like cars. But that's the car that I wanted. I wanted that car at that time. And when I was in the room with the salesperson, they were giving me a hard sell about this car, and this is what the price of the car was going to be. This is what the payments were going to be. Now, at the time, with my parents, specifically my father, he mentioned that, okay, well, you probably want to go for that payment. And the payment was way too high, friends. It was way too high. And I was paying for this car, and I knew what I could do and what I couldn't do. At that time, I was in college. I was in undergraduate. Thank you for the heart emojis. I was an undergraduate. I was working 3 jobs while I was an graduate getting my bachelor's in biology at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And I was working 3 jobs. And that was just to support me, just to be at school. When I saw the amount that came by in terms of this is how much specifically this is going to cost per month, I said, I can't do that. And I remember that time where my family looked at me like I had lost my mind. I've noticed that happens many times over the years. When you're trying to do something that is a bit uncomfortable for people, they look at you like, what's your problem? But I told the gentleman, because he was trying to do a hard sale, like, no, this is the only way we can do it. This is the exact amount. It's going to be per month. I can't negotiate it. And I said, well, I'm going to have to leave. I can't do that. I'm going to have to go. And it was so interesting because guess what happened? The price went down and the payments were what I wanted them to be. This is what happens if you are at a place where you can understand that sometimes people are just trying to pitch you, but it's good to know that there's different ways to have that conversation. And if you can pick up pretty quickly that someone's just trying to pitch you, then you can redirect the conversation in a different direction. The same way that I did. I knew that they probably could bring this price down. At that time, I knew what my budget was as an adult working 3 jobs and being in college full time, and I knew I couldn't do what they were asking, but it just felt weird. I remember being in that room, and you all let me know if you've ever been sold to very heavily. I remember feeling so stressed because I went there. We were there a lot longer than I thought we were going to be. I did not eat anything. I had not drank anything. And I remember I was getting a hunger headache, so I was hangry, right? And it just felt so intense because the person was pushing so hard for this sale of this car. And it felt like an interrogation because we were going back and forth about the price of this car. And I remember that was the first time where I physically felt depleted by having a conversation, but I was very satisfied with the end result in terms of what I was able to do in terms of getting the car payment down to what I could afford at that time as a college student on my own. So that is the time that I was sold to very heavily. I remember that to this day because I remember how bad I felt. I was exhausted, everybody. I was so exhausted. And I was in my 20s, so obviously I wasn't even ready for that. But now when I look back at that time in reflection, it makes sense now why I try to negotiate a lot more now. I did it very early on in my career. I messed up when I received my first job after college. I did not negotiate it. That was a complete mistake. But ever since then, I've been able to work on that. Hope that gives you some insight, story for y'all to talk about. But if you find something that comes up for you and you're watching the replay, put it in the comments below. Let me know if you've ever had a time where someone just sold a lot to you or sold very heavily to you, and how did you feel? And if you felt in a not positive way, then keep that feeling in mind so that when you are talking to people as a business owner, you don't project that onto them. A lot of times we have to have empathy with our clients, with our potential business partners who we want to work with. If you don't want to be that person, as Kat mentioned, that is being sold to, then guess what? It's important for you to think about how you are communicating in those very high stakes situations so that you are not selling directly to them in the way that could be off-putting. I hope that gives you something to think about. But I appreciate you all so much. There's several lives that's going to be coming out this week. Thank you for the heart emojis. I do want to let you all know that I have my live schedule. So the live schedules, I will continue to put those out so you know what topics we're going to discuss. However, there are going to be some changes happening to the channel. As many of you know, I am working on building up my studio. There's a couple things I need to get together. There actually just one more thing I need to get before I start working on my reaction content. But once I get that set up, I'm going to be doing a lot more videos. So you may see a lot of pre-recorded videos. You may see live videos. I'm on my cell phone right now, which is where I typically record. But when I'm on my monitor here with my PC, that type of content is going to be more content that I'm going to share my screen and show you a couple things. I have a lot of videos. There's going to be videos. There's going to be articles that we'll talk about that I feel like is relevant. There's a salary negotiation article that I just read it this week and I said, I've got to do this for my audience. It's going to be very interesting. The title is going to be a little bit odd, but it is going to be a conversation for us to have as it relates to negotiating your salary. I focus a lot on leaders, women in leadership, men in leadership, and you would be surprised at this article I'm going to share with you in terms of salary negotiation. We're going to talk through it. So just know that when you see different types of content, I still will be live. I'm still doing that. You're probably going to see a bit more content coming out. You're going to see a lot more reaction videos coming up, and you'll see a lot more presentations. So you'll see me doing some presentations online on here. You'll see me maybe if I see an article that I believe will be helpful to you all in terms of negotiating or impacting different situations that may be more high stakes, more high pressure. We're going to talk about those in a bit more detail, but it may be pre-recorded or they may be live. So just bear with me because some of the things are going to happen just at the whim. And I'm going to say, oh, I want to go ahead and record a video on this really quickly. So there may be not a lot of notice, but I'll definitely make sure I do what I can to highlight it in the communities tab so that you can take a look at the information. And if you have any topics that you want to learn more about, please let me know in the comments below. I'm here to support you all any way that I can. Please come to me with the hard situations and the hard challenges that you're facing because I am so excited to be able to support you and help you navigate those situations as they come up, especially as you are watching the replays. I have a series of leaders. I'm going to actually put them in a list. There's two. One is going to be a series of leaders I'm going to share with you that I'm going to start doing reaction content on. Another one is a poll in terms of what are we going to do when the channel reaches 1,000 subscribers. It is happening very quickly. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, this will be a fantastic time for you to do so. But we're reaching 1,000 subscribers and it's a huge milestone for the channel. I will share with you less than 10%. Yes, I said 10% of the channels on YouTube reach 1,000 subscribers. Less than 10%. And our channel is very, very close to that. Therefore, that's a big milestone. In the world of YouTube, that's a big milestone. It's a big milestone. And I do want to do something special for the audience. So I will be posting a poll. It'll probably be over the next several weeks because I anticipate reaching 1,000 subscribers probably within the next month. And I want to get some insight from you to see exactly what would you like to do when we reach 1,000 subscribers. If you have any ideas, you're always welcome to put them in any of the comments, but I will do an actual poll on all of my social media platforms and we'll figure a couple things out in terms of what we can do to celebrate this very big milestone on the channel. Okay, Cat 2030 says, appreciate you, Doc. Heart and 100. Thank you so much. We have Dehova Desu. Hello, welcome, friend. Chaz, Man of Culture, says, appreciate you. Any update on the book? Yes, thank you so much, Chaz. There's two books. So the High Stakes Communicating Under Pressure ebook is done. I'm working. I have the assessment there. It's going to have an assessment with it. That the only reason, Chaz, and I'm being candid with you, friend. The only reason I haven't released it yet is because there's a couple things on the back end that I have to link up to it, and I have to revise my actual website in order for me to do that. That's the only reason. And I do everything on my own in terms of my updates on my website. Now that I have my very large monitor here to set everything up, it's probably going to happen pretty quickly. I'm anticipating being done with the website hopefully within the next week. There's some landing pages I got to make for the free ebook that will include this assessment that you're welcome to take. It's all going to be free, but there's just a couple things on the back end. So that's that one book. My book on executive presence, that's something I'm still developing and still working on. I had a couple of engagements this upcoming month and a couple presentations I had to present or get ready for later this year that I'm presenting to some pretty large organizations. So that took a step back for the ebook. But the book is going to be released this year for sure, a book on executive presence. And then my free mini ebook is going to come out pretty soon. And there is a high possibility that there will be a course specifically on high stakes communication. I'm working on the details, but I'm going to vet the audience and see what you all want to see in the course before I even put it together. But that's probably going to happen after I get finished with launching the mini ebook and revising my website. So I hope that gives you some insight and some updates. Those are in the real-time situations that I'm navigating right now in terms of why there's a delay. So I appreciate your patience with that. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time for you to get your tech together in terms of what you want to do. And of course, I'm running a business. So a lot of times you have to depend on what's going on with your business schedule, what's going on with your client schedule, because I support my clients. Even my clients I've worked with years ago, I provide them with continual support. That's probably one of the rare things about my business, because most of the time in the coaching industry, when you work with a coach or a consultant, they work with you for a short amount of time or for a long amount of time, and they may not have that ability to follow up with you without paying some form of a retainer or something along those lines. But I truly do want my clients to be successful. So I try to support them if there's something that comes up for them. Even if we work together years previously, I make sure I follow up with them, or if they have something coming up, they always contact me, text me, and work with them from there. But I appreciate that, Chiz. It's coming up very soon, friend, and I'll make sure I'll put a lot of posts about it, specifically in the communities tab. Let me know what you all are dealing with. Let me know what challenges you're facing right now. Let me know how I can support you. Let me know what are some topics you're wanting to learn more about on the channel. And please, this is my big ask, and I'll put this on the post too. I'm doing different types of content. There's going to be different types of content coming out. I need your support to let me know what you like and what you don't like. If there's something that you're thinking, I don't really like that type of content, just let me know. If there's something you say, this is great, I really like this, can we see more of it? Let me know. Just give me a thumbs up or send in a message, I like this. And I will make sure that I start to cater the content toward the audience as I do right now. But in terms of the different types of content, you're going to see presentations, you're going to see articles that we discuss, you're going to see reaction videos to different world leaders. There's all kinds of things that I'm ready to do. But I just want to make sure that it is something that you all want to see. So let me know, just say, hey, I like it. Bear with me, because there'll probably be some tech things that happen, I'm sure. But I want to help you all grow, and video is a great way to do it. But of course, there's certain situations that come up that I can identify that will help you communicate as a strategic high stakes communicator in those very challenging and complex situations. So just let me know. Let me know how I can support you any way that I can. I will be live tomorrow, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.